This week is CSA Week, the busiest time of year to sign up for a CSA, or Community-Supported Agriculture Share. A CSA share is like a subscription box to the freshest, most flavorful food your local farm has to offer. When you join a CSA, you invest in the farm at the start of the season, and in return, receive a share of the harvest throughout the growing season. Find your farm today using FairShare's interactive farm search map at csacoalition.org/farm-search. This is CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Today, celebrating Black History Month can look like a lot of different things. Of course, learning and reminding ourselves of Black history, but also being active today and strengthening your community is just as essential. Angela Russell, host of the local award-winning podcast Black Oxygen with Madison 365, just launched her latest season this month on the topic of community care. We're going to talk about it. Angela, welcome to CityCast Madison.
Bianca, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, now we're doing like little dances in our studios, our home studios.
Our home studios.
It's a beautiful thing. It is beautiful to see you in your leopard print in front of your artwork. First off, happy Black History Month.
Happy Black History Month to you as well, Bianca.
Thank you. I mean, it's always a good time to celebrate and honor Blackness and Black contributions to our communities.
Every day is a good day to celebrate Blackness.
Yeah, and I feel like while we've got the month, like we'll take it, but I don't know what your thoughts are on Black History Month.
I appreciate it, and I am Black every day. And, it doesn't go away when Black History Month goes away. Although I will say, February is really rough on my skin. I do feel like the melanin kind of seeps away in February. So.
The melanin seeps away, and like something that I think you're famous for on CityCast Madison is like the New Year's resolutions that we make. You have at least once been like, to be clear, stay hydrated. We need to stay hydrated. Everything is a little harder.
Yes.
in terms of that. And you know what I will say? I'll start out this conversation by making the point that a big part of Black thriving and survival in the U.S. historically and to this day is community care. Mm-hmm. And I think that the topic has only become more relevant in our current political climate. So I love that you're launching your new season with this lens. And Angela, I'll start out by asking, what does community care look like for you, and where do you experience it in Madison?
Community care looks like a whole variety of different things to me. It is the group chats. I think that sometimes we kind of devalue or de-emphasize the role of group chats in our life. Group chats are a great form of community care. I think that book groups, your mom friends, your mom groups, your neighborhood, really getting to know your neighbors intentionally is a form of community care. And not to be cheesy, I think affinity spaces in workplaces can also be a good place for community care. So those employee resource groups, those can be spaces of community care, and they can be defined in a lot of different ways. Now, that's more on the smaller scale. But when I go macro, I think a thriving democracy is a good form of community care as well.
Yeah. And that's that big part of being a good neighbor to one another is also taking part in our civic lives together. You're great on all of those things. And, as mentioned, you're the creator and host of Black Oxygen, where you talk to a diversity of Black folks around the state of Wisconsin and sometimes beyond our borders about their experiences and expertise. I proudly have been on your show when we were launching CityCast Madison. You invited me, and that was a big moment in my world. But I want to ask, why focus your new season on community care?
I think right now, where we're at in this country in particular, I think it's so seductive, even seductive for me to think that everything is online, is related to your community. And that's not true. We have to be reminded in this moment in particular that community is all around us and that we're not alone. This feeling of isolation is seductive. The feeling of wanting to kind of put your head in the sand is seductive. But in every great movement, forward progress, it's taken community. It's not the solo hero's narrative that gets us to the next place. It's how we are connected with each other and how we care for each other day in and day out. That is really, really important. And I'll also say that creating community, being in community, maintaining community isn't easy, right? Because it takes some work, it takes effort, but that effort is necessary and it's worth it. The other thing that I'll add is just selfishly, I want to know how folks are doing it. So I have my definition, but I also want to know what are other folks' definitions and what are they intentionally practicing in this time to kind of be in community with each other.
Oh, I love it. And I selfishly, and the team selfishly wanted you to come on so we could hear your community care definition. And, I listened to the first episode, which is out, of Black Oxygen for the season. And it was with Dr. Courtney Hayward, Executive Director of the Wisconsin Community Action Program Association, WISCAP, where she works to eradicate poverty across Wisconsin. The episode's absolutely fantastic. Cannot underscore that enough. And here's her definition of community care.
That is my mantra. It is using my life to make a positive impact on the lives of those who need it most. Like seeing my mama do it and doing it myself that is how I do that. Like, it's not about me. I wasn't put on this planet to just please myself or to help myself. I was put on this planet to make sure those around me are living better lives.
She's truly putting in that work. I know, Angela, you've worn so many different hats locally in Madison, at the state level, national level. Like you have so much to share too. And something I wanted to anchor this conversation in, considering we're a Madison show, one of the highlights of last year in Madison was really how locals came together to create a community care network in response to the uncertain and dire crisis food pantries were facing when SNAP benefits were paused during the federal government shutdown. That was such a moment, and we just saw such a show out of people showing that they can be there for one another, that they can really catch us when the government doesn't have us, right?
That's right.
More recently, the dangerous weather, just absolutely severe, extreme cold. And I saw so many local calls to share winter clothing and blankets. Madisonians really do care and want to be of service to each other. And I wanted to pose the question to you, what unique opportunities do you see Madison specifically having when it comes to community care? And that can extend to our state capital, too.
I think that there are so many opportunities. And one of the quotes that I've used to frame not only this season of Black Oxygen, but honestly to frame most of my career is a quote by Lila Watson, who is an Aboriginal activist. And she says, "If you've come here to help me, you're wasting your time. But if you've come because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let's work together." I think the opportunity that Madison has is to really understand how our liberation is bound up together, because I think, and this may be controversial, I think that Madison comes to helping in community from a very saviorism frame and a very elitist frame, as opposed to understanding the privilege that a lot of us holds and understanding that our lives are bound up together. So if I'm not really day to day understanding and proximate to the poverty that exists in our community, I'm going to come in and try to teach nonprofits what I think I know because I've been at the university or I've been at corporate, but that's in service to my ego as opposed to in service for our shared humanity. So I think that we in Madison have a real opportunity to kind of check our egos and understand that we are bound up in this life together. And I would love in this moment, and hopefully this moment is showing us more now than ever, that our democracy is dependent on each other. It's not coming in as a savior, but it is getting to know your neighbors. It is getting proximate to the pain that exists, because someone else's pain is my pain. And it's not for me to come in and say, you need to do this, this, and this, and this. And I've got to check myself on this on a regular basis, because Well, you know what? My kids do it. I've got two snarky teenagers, and
do.
they check me on a regular basis.
Which I love. And you're also always so welcome to it, though. Like, you're the best mom. Transparently, we're friends.
Yes.
Outside of this conversation, so folks know. But seeing you just like take it with stride and be like, yeah, like, and allow yourself to be curious and what they're actually trying to say to you, which I love. If somebody's thinking, how can I help the community, but I'm really struggling to help myself, what would you say? And I think that response, like, helping others is going to be helping you. Like, we're all in this together. We are intertwined. There is a lot of like introspection I'm hearing you say that needs to happen around how we can care for one another and how we're really truly connected.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think the introspection is concurrent. It doesn't need to happen before, because the introspection should be lifelong, right? Like, my own personal decolonization and whatever that means to me is a lifelong journey. It's not ever going to be done, but that doesn't mean that I can't do things in community with community now. And I think that that's for all of us. We're all in a burning house right now. We are. And when I was kind of doing my in my previous life, working in corporate, doing DEI, one of the things that, and people wanted to do DEI all the time, and I said, if you are going to do DEI, you need to make sure to have a good therapist, because there's going to be stuff that comes up. Same thing with this, me doing whatever I'm doing with my life. It takes a team. It takes like coaching, therapy, theoretically exercising, emphasis on the theoretical aspect of the exercise. There's this phrase that I learned years ago that I love. It's this really trying to embody confident humility, confident that I am working in alignment with my values, but humble enough to say that there's so much that I have to learn. And there's so much that I'm curious about. And how can I be helpful, but also how can I not harm at the same time? So I think that it's really, not only is it important for us to understand that we are a part of the larger community, it's not us helping them, it's a larger interwoven thing, but it's also not a binary. It's not a, I have to do this in order to be effective at this. It's kind of all together. And even when I think it's not an us versus them and being in community, it's also kind of how we see ourselves as human as well. So we are in the midst of democracy, kind of in the US, kind of being very, very tested. We're in the middle of a climate crisis, and really changing that is also learning that we are a part of nature, not the owner of nature. And it's the same kind of principles of what does this larger community, even beyond humanity, what does that look like? And what can we learn from everything that's all around us?
Community care is wide and deep. I mean, you could have a few seasons on this.
That's right. That's right.
And also, one of my favorite things about you, Angela, is you are so deep and such a deep thinker, and everything you said was just resonating so hard. And one of the things I want to pull out there is, you know, having asked Madison, like, what specifically are we well set up to do? And I think you laid it out in an awesome way, which is Madison is really well resourced and full of people who are well resourced and want to help. And there are ways to do it. And first, checking yourself, doing some introspection, also having some humility to show that, hey, we're all in this together. And what work do I need to do on myself to be in community with you and us to have a community that is supportive of us all?
Yeah. Can I just add on that? In addition, Madison has a ton of curious folks. Our curiosity is an asset. I think that we should lean into that. I think that our natural resources, we are surrounded by an abundance of beauty. Lean into that, learn into that, and quite frankly, share it, because there are so many people that feel like that access to the natural beauty isn't for them, but that's not true. That's not real. And we are full of creatives. Sometimes those creatives are hidden. So get to know your neighbor and learning, oh, wow, you're into screen printing? That's cool. How can I support the local artists? How can I support local musicians? There's so many ways. And then amplify, amplify, amplify. When you see good work happening, And you want to amplify that, because we don't all need to be the center. And there's a time and place for all of it. And it's not a competition. And I think sometimes we forget it. It's just not. There's an abundance. And so how do we learn to live in that abundance here?
I said at the top of the conversation, Black thriving and survival in the U.S. really has been anchored in community care. I'm thinking about aunties and people helping each other out because life is quite tough, right? And then, you broaden that out, and I'm thinking about MLK Jr. Day. There's always our call to service and folks getting out and helping people in the community. I'm thinking about historically the Black Panthers and that party and their efforts to feed school children. What lessons from Black history can we apply to community care today? What are you thinking about this Black History Month and our ancestors?
Much.
Yeah.
So much. I mean, part of where I learned about community care was in the Black church. So you wouldn't know this by knowing me today, that I grew up in the Black church, because I swear all the time, I just, you wouldn't know that.
Well, the storytelling power.
Right. There's that. But my parents literally helped start a church in Peoria, Illinois. And the pastor would come down from Chicago, stay with my parents. And the very first service of these grown-ups starting a new church was in the house that I grew up in. And then that community care of the church was always there. So that's what I knew. That's how I grew up. When my parents were working, they relied on people in that community to help babysit me, to help watch my brother and I if they were out doing other things. And then my mom was a Sunday school teacher. So for years and years and years, so seeing her in the Black church care and teach these kids who are now in their 50s who still call her to this day. And that notion of community care. My mom also played the piano for the church. She was a sign language interpreter for the church. So that notion of community care was infused into me at a very young age. And then both of my parents were a part of the Divine Nine, so Black sororities and fraternities. And my mom is still very active in the AKA community here. And the way that community gives back, and same with other Divine Nines fraternities and sororities, it's really incredible.
The way the different institutions you're talking about can hold people and have historically held people and do today. I know I've had a number of conversations about this, but people missing ritual. I know a lot of folks are not going into church, and you don't have to go into church. You don't have to believe anything, but ritual with community and communion and being with one another. And they're finding it in different ways. They're joining Peloton groups or whatever, something to feel connected.
That's
but
right.
also there are support groups. Like I, did kickboxing, and I felt like, I'm making these friends in a support group. I guess I wonder if you're feeling like in our modern times, we've just lost the thread around the value of community and just how deeply connected we really are and need each other.
I think we have. Not only have we lost the thread of the importance of it, I think we've lost the thread of how to do it. And I don't know. I mean, part of it has been shifts in kind of the notion of connection to religion. But with that loss of connection to religion, and quite frankly, the pandemic, and I'm going to sound like a baby boomer. I'm not a baby boomer. I'm Gen X, but I'm going to sound like a baby boomer. Our reliance on the phone and our connection to the phone has literally disconnected us from each other. And in my own life, I am trying to change my relationship with the phone because it's super hard.
It's exciting. You could pop onto a social media app and see, baby pandas and hair tips and food you want to eat and places you want to vacation.
Right.
And also some of the most horrifying imagery and terrible news. And it's intense. It's terrifying.
When I went back on Instagram at the end of last year, it just ate up so much of my time. I'm like, I have I could do this for a few minutes. 3 hours later, I'm like, what just happened?
3 hours later.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so I'm going to sound like an advertisement, but I just got a thing called the Brick. And
literally, Angela, for the New Year's resolution conversation this year, I was like, I want to try brick. And it sounds like it's not an ad, but it's been being advertised to me. So now.
So I got it. And just last week, the amount of time that I have in my day, and I'm like, where did all this time come from? It has been like a game changer.
Okay. I want to interview the creators.
Do you know it's designed in Wisconsin?
Yes. Two former UW Madison students did it.
Yeah, they should be on the CityCast. But I mean, well, and now that I'm using my phone differently, I have a different type of energy for community as well. Because sometimes when you're just sucked into your phone, I have gotten in the habit of saying no to things that I'm invited to. Number one, I don't like pants so much.
We stay and stretch and dresses and skirts.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm like, now that I'm kind of off this so much, my energy literally feels different. So I can say yes to community differently.
And yes to coming on the show, which we really appreciate you for so much. And I cannot resonate anymore. I'm sure everyone or nearly everyone listening is in a similar boat, and just recognizing that we're trying to get social connection through our phones, and it's not the same. It's not the same, and it has its place, but it's taken up so much of this other time. And Angela, as you've been thinking about this and preparing this season, what advice do you have for folks to get out, to get more involved in their communities and take part in community care?
Recognize what you're already doing for community care, because you're probably already doing something that you don't even realize. So another quick example is last year, I had a hysterectomy. Yay, no uterus. Yay. Very excited about that. But the way that my friends came around me to make sure that I had everything that I needed, that's an example of community care. Meal trains that happen for people. Great example for community care. There are things that you're already doing, and I don't want to come in and say, you need to do this more, better, da, 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 da. Because I think that gets into shaming and feeling like you're not doing enough. In this society, people are already telling you that you're not doing enough constantly. So recognize what you're already doing, and then get curious about other things. Are there neighbors that you want to meet that you haven't met? If so, host a fiber arts night at your place, like where people get together and knit. Host like a baking thing. And you don't have to host like 20 people, like maybe 5 or 6.
That's my problem, is like going too big. And I'm like, that's not happening. It's just not happening.
Right.
And it's like, well, who said you need to have it at Versailles? You know?
Right. You don't need to have it at Versailles. Just 5 or 6 people. And that sense of community is great. Find writers that talk about community. Mia Birdsong is a great one. Priya Parker is a great one. And do things that you enjoy. I will see an event. I'm like, oh, that seems interesting. And I'll just go. And I'm not afraid to go to places by myself. In fact, I love it. So just try new things and put yourself out there. I love to bring a book to a bar. Love it. One of my favorite things to do. So much so, sometimes when I have a book and I'm at a bar, and then people will come up and talk to me, I'm like, oh my God, why are you talking to me?
And you're like, oh yeah, I'm in public.
Right. I'm in public. Yeah. So the other thing, okay, this is going to sound, again, so cheesy. We have a fantastic library system. Check out our library website and see what events they're hosting. They're free. Go to the library and chill out. Go to a coffee store and chill out. There's so many things to do. And I think if I was like more in the teenager mind, one of the things I can see from my teenagers is that they're like constantly afraid of judgment. And I think that happens to adults of, oh my God, what are people thinking of me? They're not. Like literally, they're not thinking about you. They're thinking about trying to get through their day, you know? And sometimes people are longing for community as well. There are so many different ways to get involved. You can volunteer. You can go to the library. I highly recommend following the Silent Book Club of Madison on Facebook to see when there are silent book club readings. You can go to a cafe, not talk to anybody and bring a book, but be surrounded by people, or host something. There's so many different things you can do.
the brilliance of Angela and all of those recommendations. I am so in for every single community care that you just brought up. And before I let you go, Angela, the first episode of this new season is out. What do you have planned for the rest of the season? What kinds of voices and spotlights are you planning on doing? Hit us with what you can share.
So I'm going to have the very first white person on Black Oxygen.
Oh, history.
History is going to be broken. Black Oxygen conversation with Governor Jim Doyle. And I am so excited. I'm excited to have Governor Doyle on for a variety of reasons. One of them being I worked for his administration for 6 years, and I learned what it meant to build a diverse workforce and how to go about it from Jim Doyle. So I'm excited to talk to him about that. I'm excited to talk to him about what the connection between democracy and community care, and what does it mean to maintain and build on this notion of this experiment of democracy, and can we get to a multiracial, multi-ethnic democratic society here, and what will it take? I'm going to talk about what is Wisconsin's role in particular in community, in democracy. I'm just really psyched about that conversation.
That is so exciting, and especially with that personal connection of you having worked there. And for those who are newbies to Wisconsin or aren't super familiar with gubernatorial history, he was the 44th governor of Wisconsin from 2003 to 2011. So no sneeze of amount of time and really crucial years for the state.
Yes, and I'm going to have a photographer on. I'm going to have a leader from United Way on. I'm going to have a former hospice nurse on. We're going to have all of different kinds of conversations coming up in this season.
Very exciting. And another form of community care for y'all listening is supporting folks who are doing the work like Angela. This is really important work that you're doing, connecting the dots with the local Black leaders and thinkers, and even a white person, former Governor Jim Doyle.
I love Governor Doyle so much. It's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, no, that sounds incredible. But it's about supporting your work in this wonderful podcast that means so much to so many, including me. I'm so excited for your new season. This conversation was a gift. Again, folks, check out Black Oxygen wherever you get your podcasts. Angela, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me, Bianca. You are awesome.
That's Angela Russell, creator and podcast host of Black Oxygen in partnership with Madison 365 Media. Go check out and follow her new season, y'all. And you can do that wherever you get your podcasts. That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. I'm your host, Bianca Martin. Don't forget, you can support the show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Madison neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. And if you enjoyed today's show, why not share this episode with a Madison helper? Speaking of help spread the word about CityCast Madison. Review and rate this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. It really helps folks find the show. Alrighty, we'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Until then, take good care and thanks for listening.